This is Chuck Hester at WRAL TechWire, and we continue our series of top startups to watch, tech startups to watch for NC Tech. Already awarded those winners, 10 of them that will be announced and celebrated on December 3rd at the NC Tech Awards. My pleasure to introduce Shane Perico. He is with Aktiga, who is one of the award winners. And side note here, they are based in Asheville, North Carolina. So they've been through a lot over the last several weeks, and we applaud you for being up and running, and we'll take it from there. So Shane, I'm going to ask, as we had talked earlier, to explain the concept, if you will, of Aktiga, how it got started, and where you're going from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited to represent Asheville's tech ecosystem, as small as it might be. The origin of Aktiga was very much influenced by the first business that I started, which was an online education company dedicated to online learning and onboarding and remote training and learning. Started that business before the pandemic, and obviously that accelerated that business model. We really grew more into a training and learning development agency. I have a partner. She's the CEO and runs the day-to-day. A couple years ago, we got into a immersive learning and training development, virtual reality training development project for a client, and got to peek behind the curtain as to the complexities and the challenges and hurdles, both from a technical perspective and a cost perspective, for building that kind of a training and educational experience. The gist is that it's very costly, it's incredibly time consuming, and then your finished product is not very accessible. You have to choose like a platform or a headset or hardware. So you're ultimately building for a very small user base at the end of the day, which ends up scaring a lot of small and medium-sized businesses off from the amount of capital, like investment, required to build any kind of immersive learning or virtual reality training experiences. The reason why we got into this was because we started to discover research that reinforced the benefits of virtual reality learning. On average, adults learn between 4 and 6 times faster in VR than they do in the classroom or in a traditional setting, and they retain twice as much new information. So not only are people consuming information faster, but they're retaining more. So like those benefits for anyone in the learning development or training development world, it's like those are massive. So as we got more familiar with the challenges, we started to feel like there has to be a better way, and that's really what turned us on to building immersive content for the web and using WebGL and WebXR. We wrote a white paper called XRWD, basically our take on what we feel like is the evolution of responsive web design that accommodates immersive devices and spatial devices and VR headsets and AR glasses and all those things. We've been able to present that white paper at a few conferences to some really great responses and reactions from specifically the design and web design community. And so that's really what we're focusing on at Aktiga is, currently building custom solutions for clients so that we're able to generate the revenue to keep our lights on, and building custom software as well that doesn't necessarily have a 3D or an immersive component. But, I've got a great team here, all local in Western North Carolina. I feel like that's one of the most important things about, what I'm trying to do with this business is build a team that's local, trying to create jobs and have an impact on the local tech ecosystem and the local economy. All while working on some really exciting, cutting edge technology. We're able to take 3D objects and designs from engineers or architects and render them on the web that's then accessible from any device. So you can interact with this content on a mobile device or on a laptop or on a desktop and on any headset. So every headset ships with a browser, and the content that we're building works in the browser across any device. So that's sort of the advantage. So it's exciting, and the folks that we have on our team are young and smart, and I feel incredibly lucky to call them, part of the team at Aktiga, and I'm real excited about where we're headed.
That's awesome. So practicality of the type of applications that we can use. I know on the website I've seen medical for sure, and several other areas. What's your typical customer look like? What are the applications?
Right now, we're finding more traction in the world of manufacturing. We've got a client down in Wilmington that produces these custom workstations, and airflow containment boxes, and there's a heavy engineering and design component. And then the challenge that they run into is being able to share those designs with the customer. Usually it requires getting an engineer on the Zoom call to screen share and say, hey, this is the object and this is what it looks like, and spin it around and that kind of thing. And we're able to take their engineered designs and publish them on the web so any device can interact with it. So it's ultimately breaking down those barriers of accessibility to 3D content. So, manufacturers, obviously, health tech, and feels like there's going to be a lot of opportunity to explore there. But we're seeing more interest from, the practical side of things, architects and manufacturers that want to show their 3D designs and renderings to clients and customers. And then also like digital museum exhibits, art exhibits, and music exhibits. And obviously that touches my background with being a musician and a music producer and an engineer. So it's exciting to see those dots kind of connect for me.
That's awesome. As a startup, always a question I ask. So you've got a partner. Where's the funding coming from?
Primarily me, and I self-funded Aktiga and set aside some money from the online education business, and pulled in some friends and family, and it's pretty much been limited to that. I've definitely interacted with the investment community on some levels, and I think that what we're doing is sufficiently cutting edge to both excite and scare them. So they're like, ooh, that sounds great. And as soon as you have a lead investor, let us know. So everybody wants to be involved, but nobody wants to be first.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing everything that I can to continue moving forward, bootstrapping the business, generating revenue through these client engagements, and building custom software solutions and custom 3D solutions for customers while we build out our product.
Awesome. And you are in the Asheville ecosystem. We're all familiar with Raleigh, and I just interviewed Jim Roberts from Wilmington, so know the Wilmington very, very well, thanks to Jim's prodding. But so Asheville, is that an area that is up and coming? What's your outlook for the North Carolina startup community in general, and in Asheville in specific?
Great question. I feel like what I see coming through the NC Tech ecosystem, just in general across the state. Obviously, there's a ton of innovation coming out of the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, kind of Chapel Hill area. And I know Jim Roberts well, so he's quite a character, and I very much appreciate his impact on the ecosystem, both from his past here in Asheville and in Charlotte, and now in Wilmington. He's kind of bounced around the state a little bit and had an impact pretty much everywhere he's been. So it's been great to keep up with his impact and his efforts. I think that they're doing some great stuff in Wilmington, and I'm excited to see what comes of it. In Asheville, I feel like there's a real unique situation. There's an opportunity for tech as an ecosystem here, maybe more so than the Triangle. The Triangle's so established that people just associate tech with the Triangle, kind of like a one-to-one. That's an easy association. Asheville, not so much. And ironically, post-pandemic, we've had this dramatic influx of remote tech workers. So I'm actually part of an organization called the AVL Digital Nomads. And it's started post-pandemic, and now we have over 3,000 members, and that includes remote executives, remote technical workers, remote engineers, remote designers. I mean, I meet people at the meetups that we have and have been having up until the storm. Folks from Google, folks from Netflix, folks from Slack and Salesforce. I mean, some of the biggest companies in the world in tech, and they live here because it rains and there's no fire risk. And, these are kind of like climate refugees from that sort of like fire risk part of the world. And so what I've been seeing is an opportunity to get those folks involved. And so I helped start a monthly meetup called AVL Tech Connect. And we were regularly getting between 50 and 75 folks coming out, and people doing product demos, and folks looking for work, people looking for collaboration opportunities, senior engineers looking to mentor junior engineers, and designers looking to connect with engineers because they had a product design that they wanted to work on. So I feel like there's a huge opportunity in Western North Carolina for the tech ecosystem to really take off on the legs of those folks, those senior engineers, those people who've worked at some of the biggest companies in the world, and they're here in Asheville and they're looking for opportunities to get involved. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
That's great. Well, Shane, once again, congratulations on the honor. Look forward to seeing you at the NC Tech Awards coming up in first week in December.
Awesome. Chuck, thanks so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.